We're now going to create the external walls. We need to do the external walls first, because if they don't get created correctly, then we can't ever get the internal walls working properly. So if I come up to the Architecture tab and I click on Walls, what you're going to see, because we've got the architectural template loaded in our drawing standard, there's a selection of walls. So this is called the type selector, just here. And I'm going to choose brick veneer 250 timber. Now before I start, there's a few things that I need to do. This is the properties of this wall, and this is our options bar. You can see that the contextual tab, which is green, has appeared over to the right hand corner, and in our options bar we need to make a few choices before we start. So the first one, by default it's always unconnected, but after you've chosen this it will remain on whatever you choose until you change it to something else. So level above, and we'll have a look at what that means in just a sec. So the height means that it starts on ground floor, that's our base constraint, and then it goes up to level 1, which is our top constraint. And what that means is that if level 1 adjusts, then so does the height of this wall. Now the location line for this one, because we're drawing and this is the outside of the building, the location line is going to be finish face exterior. Now the difference between finish and core is that built within the wall, and we'll look at the edit type later of the wall, but built within the wall, REVIT actually understands which part of the wall is structural and which one is a finish. So we're choosing finish because with the brick veneer wall, the brick veneer is actually the finish, not the structural element. I'm going to leave this, that actually says chain, not chair. And now that I've selected those two, I can start drawing. Because I've got this reference plane already set up, I can use the snap point. So for those of you who've used AutoCAD before, it'll look exactly the same. You can see as I hover over it, a little pink X appears. That's intersection. And I'm just working in a clockwise direction and clicking on the intersection of each of those reference planes. Now that I've created that was very quick to do, I'm going to change a couple more things to the view so it starts to look right. The first is this drawing, if you look at the sheet that you're working off, should be set to 1 to 50. So the scale is 1 to 50. Nothing changes as far as you could tell, but if I had some text or some dimensions, the scale of that would actually size itself up and down. Now the second one, and it doesn't matter whether you do this down here and change the detail level from coarse to medium, or up here and change your detail level from coarse to medium. And it's important to understand that when we do this, we're not changing the walls, we're changing the view, the way this view, and every one of these, by the way, is a view. That's a view, an elevation is a view, a 3D is a view, a camera view is a view, ground floor is a view. So this view is currently set to detail level medium and at the scale of 1 to 50. And in addition to that, while we're talking about this drawing status bar, this is currently at hidden line. So this is the way it should appear when everything is being drawn for sort of working drawings. You can choose shaded if you're doing a more of a concept style drawing. I'm going to set it back to hidden line. I'm now going to create the internal walls. And to do that, I'm going to draw them roughly in position and then I'm going to adjust them. It's just a more efficient way to work in REVIT. I'm coming up to walls and looking at my plan, I can see that they are 90 mil thick. That's what the dimensions said. So I'm going to choose stud timber 90 because I've got timber brick veneer here. So stud timber 90. And I'm going to draw some walls roughly in the position that I think they should be. I'm guessing. So I guess the important thing is I'm making sure that they start at a wall. See how when I start drawing that wall, how it just automatically knows that that wall lives up and they connect and there's no line between the two. And if I was to move that away, you can see that it finishes it off again. So it's important that they join. It's also important that when you draw perfectly vertically or horizontally, and REVIT will help you do that. So architecture and wall, 1, 2, a wall for the bathroom, and then we've got a nib for the kitchen. Now to get those in position, I'm now going to use some permanent dimensions. So the temporary dimensions appear when I click on an object you can see that these are created. So this one's easy enough. Let's get this one first. We'll use the temporary dimensions to start this off. 1230. Okay, if it's not going to the bit that I want it to, and I'm going to have trouble making it behave itself now, but what I can do, just as an example, is see these blue dots? I can click. I'm going to hold down the left button of my mouse. I'm holding it down and then I'm releasing it. See how that's going blue? I'm going to release that and now it's dimensioned to the bit I want and I can click and adjust. So that's how you adjust the temporary dimensions. However, what I'm going to do now is add some permanent dimensions. So I'm clicking on DI or Align Dimension. It's also here in Annotate and Aligned. I'm going to get you to use the dim, so I'm going to choose a different dimension style that we've adjusted to make fit. And up here on the options bar, this time I need to change it to dimension from wall center lines to wall faces or faces of core. In this situation, they're actually the same thing because we don't have any finishes on the inside of our walls. So wall faces will be fine. Now, when I'm dimensioning, I will go horizontal or perpendicular, sorry, horizontal or vertically. So can you see as I hover over it, those lines are going blue, and I just keep clicking the faces of the wall. This is called a string of dimensions, and I'm going to click on the end there. Notice I make a point of zooming in. That is so I make sure I get exactly what I want. Now, when I position these walls, I just hit escape a few times to hop out. I'm going to start on one side and work my way through. So that's the most important thing.